When I first started this channel, I made myself a promise. I was going to commit to YouTube for 2 years before I decided to quit. That 2-year mark has come and gone. And so I'm at the crossroads now. Do I continue this channel or do I let it go and focus on other projects? The first year of this channel, I was really productive. I think almost on average, I put out 1 video a week. I think I missed a couple weeks in that first year. In the last year or so, I've been far less productive. I think I'm averaging about 1 video a month for the last 12 months or so. And there are a lot of reasons for that. Some of them I've talked about on this channel before. So I'm not going to go over it all again, but there are some health reasons, there are some financial reasons, some personal things in my life, and a pretty demanding work schedule. That has all contributed to, all these intersecting things have contributed to less productivity on ground ski books than I would have liked. But during that time, I didn't stop thinking of ideas for videos, and I didn't stop reading. I slowed down reading a little bit, but I didn't stop. So I've got a lot of ideas for future videos. And it just so happens that right now, at least, I'm in a place where I have a little bit more time than I did last year, which means that I'm not going to quit YouTube, and I'm going to commit to another 2 years of doing YouTube. So I'm going to take this 2 years at a time. In this first 2 years, I've picked up about 830 or so subscribers. And I am thrilled that if you are one of my subscribers and you're here, I'm really thrilled that you're here. I'm happy to have some familiar names in the comments section, and I appreciate all of you guys. If you're not subscribed, unfortunately, this isn't a book talking video. This is more me talking about my channel and where I've been and where I plan on going in the future. But I've got a lot of other videos on this channel talking about books. And so if you're curious about my bookish tastes and opinions, please go check those out and consider subscribing. I use Notion to keep track of all of my video ideas, and right now there's 50, 60, 70 ideas in there. My favorite videos that I do are my individual book reviews, where I do kind of a deeper dive into one specific book and I talk about it for 15, 25 minutes or so. Those are my favorite videos to make. Unfortunately, those don't tend to do quite as well. This channel hasn't blown up at all. I've got 1 video at 7,000 views, and that's the most that I've got. Most of my videos sit around 200 to 400 views, and I'm not complaining about that, but I wish it was more, and I'm trying to think of ways to kind of grow my audience while still making the kind of things that I want to make. So I'm going to continue to do the standalone book reviews, but I'm going to start leaning more into reading projects. And I've got a number of those projects, and I've got just a ton of ideas, way more ideas that I could actually probably follow through on. Not just not having enough time to film all these, but to do all the reading and work in the background to make those videos work. So what I've got here is a long list of projects here. And I'm only going to say this once so I don't have to keep repeating myself over and over. I'm requiring audience participation here. If you're this far into the video, you're probably at least curious as to where this channel is going. And I would like you to have a say. So when you hear something that I'm talking about here, I would like to know from you if this is something specifically you would like to see come first. I will probably get to most of these at some point. It's just a matter of which ones I start focusing on right away. So the first thing I'm going to say is I've got a couple stacks of books right here, and later on I'm going to talk about all these, not in this video, but probably next week you'll see these. Those are just sort of it's a general reading update, but the main thing is going to be these reading projects that I have. All right, so the first one I have on this list is The Deleuze Legend by Jack Kerouac. Most of these books up here, Kerouac wrote, was it 13, 14, 15 books? It depends on what you consider part of the Deleuze Legend, and there's considerable discussion online about which books belong into that canon and which are tangential or kind of like supporting works. I've read most of them, and some of them multiple times. And I've started reading Jack Kerouac books in high school, and my views on Jack Kerouac have evolved a tremendous amount in the last 30 years. I was in high school 30 years ago. 30 years. 30 years. 30 years. 30 years. 30 years. 30 years. I was in high school 30 years ago. But I've always wanted to read all of them kind of in chronological order, kind of back to back to back to back. They're all fairly short. I think the longest one is 400 pages, but most of them are under 200 pages or right around there. I think I could probably get through all of them over the course of the summer. Maybe have to slide a few other books in there just for a little bit of variety, but I would like to do all those. And then I want to do a video on every single one of those books. I think this is the first big project that I'm going to tackle because it's the one I've been wanting to do for 30 years. 30 years. 30 years. 30 years. 30 years. My birthday is in a couple months, and I've just, I don't know. I thought I was over the midlife crisis stage of my life, but maybe I'm not. I just keep getting shook by how long ago I read some of these books. Anyway, I've got Leaves of Grass right here by Walt Whitman. There is a nutty professor here on YouTube who has one video, I think, on every single one of these poems. I want to watch all of Tim McGee's crazy videos on Leaves of Grass, and then I want to do a video myself about Tim McGee's crazy videos about Leaves of Grass. Not so much a review of Leaves of Grass itself, maybe, but yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. It'd be one of those really great projects, but I couldn't do it all at once, obviously. This is something I would probably watch one video a day, take some notes, read the poem, and just spend a year in the background of all other projects, just kind of working on that. So that's something that I would like to do. I'm not going to pull them down, but I've got one of these shelves up here. It's all Tolkien. It's all Middle Earth, and I have always wanted to read everything by Tolkien set in his Middle Earth. I don't know if I would do a video on every one of those. Like, who needs another video about The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings or even the Silmarillion? But I would like to kind of maybe do like a vlog style video, periodic updates. Not exactly sure how I'll format that, but that's something that I'd like to do. Then I've got, it's a whole shelf down there. I'll take another picture of that, of Alexander Dumas' Musketeer cycle. All these Dumas books have recently been retranslated and represented and formatted slightly differently by Lawrence Ellsworth. I read Three Musketeers and Red Sphinx, which is the kind of spiritual successor to Three Musketeers that follows Cardinal Richelieu in another story that doesn't include the Musketeers, but it's another story. That book was, I guess, the last one written in the cycle, and it was never quite finished. I have a kind of an obsession with unfinished books. You know, I'm talking like Kafka, or where is it? Pale King by David Foster Wallace, or Red Sphinx. I've got a bunch of these books that are unfinished, and that's another reading project that I would like to work on. There's very few things in literature that I like more than reading an editor's note at the beginning of an unfinished book, when that editor has compiled an author's unfinished book, culled all the notes and tried to make sense of it, and then I get to read the book, and it's often not, finished in certain ways. It doesn't have an ending, or there's things that are missing, or characters' names change. I just love that so much. I'm not exactly sure why. Anyway, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Musketeer cycle. So I really like Lawrence Ellsworth's translations of Three Musketeers and the Red Sphinx. They're preeminently readable, and I went out and I bought all of them. I think each one of those books would deserve its own video. Also, the next one is Isaac Asimov's Foundation series and Robot series. I've got a friend of mine who, those are her favorite books, and I want to read those so that I can talk to her about it, but secretly I'd kind of like to impress her with a good video on YouTube about her favorite book series, so don't tell her that. I want to do a comparison between Frankenstein and Dracula. I think these stories get like equated to each other a lot as sort of proto-horror novels, and I guess that's true, but they're really very, 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 very different from each other thematically, and the style. I mean, they're both epistolatory, but beyond that, the tone is completely different in these books. And I'd like to do kind of a side-by-side comparison and also talk about Stoker and Shelley and their biographies kind of all in one fell swoop. One of my favorite authors of all time is Richard Brautigan, and I'll show you his books up there. I've read all of them, and most of them I've read at least like 4 or 5 times. I want to read them all again and do another video on all of his books. Next is my Proust. I haven't read my Proust. What kind of lit bro am I if I haven't even read my Proust? Which brings me to another video idea that I have is kind of my literary blind spots. And I think that's one I'm going to be filming soon. I haven't read Proust and I haven't read War and Peace. What kind of lit bro hasn't read Proust or what was the other one I said? War and Peace. I also want to start a Substack. So years and years ago, I had a physical mailing list. So I created this forum. I called it the Solid Mud Forum. And I think I got through 5 volumes of that. Every volume was 1 year. And then I got up to like 4 or 5 or 6 issues in each volume. Let's just say 20, 25 issues of Solid Mud Forum. But I used to mail that out. I would really like to start something up like that again. And in this forum, I invited some of my friends and other people who are on my subscribers list to contribute, whether it's stories about their vacations or little observations, little writing projects, little micro fictions or book reviews or movie reviews, music reviews, albums that they liked to listen to, and I would compile all that, and then I would also write, and I would do an interview with one person every month, and I would post that interview in there. They're just silly, kind of fun things. Anyway, I would really like to start a Substack for you guys where I'm able to kind of compile a lot of things like that. Mostly it would be things that I'm, interested in at the moment, like what movies I'm watching, things I don't normally talk about so much on this channel, stuff that I'm not sure everybody would be interested in. But if you want to know more about Eric Gronsky, you can go to the Substack. So I've only released, 4 or 5 videos on this channel so far this year, which is a shame. But I have filmed 4 videos that I never got to upload because I screwed them up. I screwed up the audio, I screwed up the file transfers and storage. They either got deleted or corrupted or some way. I brought my friend Phil in for a video. We were talking about the Blade Runner movies and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? So we'd like to talk about the book and the adaptation, differences there, and why we like both of them for different reasons. There was a great discussion that Phil and I had. And Phil, my dude, I am sorry that I screwed that up. You were going to be famous, man. You were going to be internet famous. And I screwed it up, and I'm really sorry. So there's that video. And then I had another video where I was cataloging my library here. So when I first moved into this place a few months or 6 months ago already, I just threw all the books up on the shelf, just however they came out of the boxes, no rhyme or reason. So I took everything down, and as I was putting it all back up, I cataloged everything in Storygraph. And I made a whole video kind of choosing which kind of online cataloging tool I was going to use and the whole process. And it was also sort of a bookshelf tour. My son was here helping me put everything on there. He was in the video, but that's the one that got corrupted. All those pieces of video got corrupted. Only a couple shots survived somehow. I don't know what I did. Something with the iCloud. I'm turning into my parents, man. I'm just so bad with computers these days. I don't know what I did. I screwed it up bad, though. I was really mad at myself. Oh, another video that I filmed about my job at the library. I still have all that stuff, and I didn't screw that one up. And I've got kind of a long script talking about that one. It's more of an essay about why I enjoy working in the library, specifically in like public service, or why I like working in public service, specifically at the library, and even more specifically, the exact job that I had there at the library, and then why I was so sad that I had to leave that job and the circumstances kind of surrounding that. But I didn't put that one out there because it seemed like a really personal story to me. It's important to me, but I'm not sure how many of you are going to want to watch that. Then there were two other videos. This is actually the second time I've recorded this video. The last time I forgot to turn this microphone on, and that made me mad. I actually recorded two videos in one day. The other one was talking about these books that I'd slid over here earlier. So I've already recorded that video and this video. So this is the re-recording day. But I had to take kind of a long break after screwing those up because I was not in a good mood after that. In the last video that I put out, I was reviewing a book called Don't Let the Monsters Out by Heather O'Brien. I mentioned in that video that I've been working on my own book, and that's true. I'm actually working on 3. I'm working on 3 books kind of simultaneously, and I'm trying to figure out how to focus on just one, and I keep committing to one book. And it lasts about 4 or 5 days, and then I switch to the other one. Then I commit to that book, and then I switch. So what I'd like to do is like stop talking about what I'm writing on this channel, but in the background while I'm working on these books, kind of film some vlog style things. And once I'm finished with the book, I can release a video talking about how I wrote that book and kind of my writing processes. And all right, so there's a couple other ideas here. I'll just kind of go through these rapid fire because there's a bunch. I want to do a video about the 10 best books over 1,000 pages that I've read. I thought about doing like a reading challenge, like one of those 24-hour reading challenges where I read nonstop for 24 hours and see how much I can do. I've tried that before and it didn't really work out that well for me. I read Donna Tartt's The Secret History in one sitting, and then I switched to Moonglow by Michael Chabon, and then after 16 hours I just had to go to sleep. I couldn't make it 24 hours reading. But those are kind of gimmicky videos, but I think it'd be kind of a fun little challenge. Another challenge that I'd like to do while I have the time before I start into anything else that's really, really big, I wanted to try to do a 10,000 page reading challenge where I read 10,000 pages in a month. Okay, so there's another idea that my friend over at Salty Vet Adventures gave me, talking about B-side books. You know, everybody knows Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. That would be the A side. And then the B side is Letters from the Earth. And these are previously unpublished letters collected here. His publisher won't publish them in his lifetime, but they were picked up later when kind of social mores kind of relaxed. So that's kind of like the B-side book thing. You know, like everybody knows what's a good lesser known book by that author. Talked about Leaves of Grass. I talked about, and then there's like abridged and unabridged versions. Hold on, I got an example of that too. So another one of my reading blind spots is Victor Hugo. Well, I've read Hunchback, but I haven't read Les Miserables. That's a big one. I have only ever read one abridged book before, and that was a Reader's Digest version, The Smoke Jumper. I read that at my grandma's house. She used to subscribe to those Reader's Digest books. So I read that when I couldn't sleep one night when I was visiting her. But I thought it'd be kind of neat to read the abridged version of Les Miserables and then go right into the unabridged version and read it again and kind of discuss the differences and why I will probably think it's a terrible idea to abridge books. That's what I'm guessing my opinion will be. I can't imagine going into that project and changing my mind on that. I want to do a video talking about my opinion on spoilers. I want to do a video. This is a stupid one, but I really want to do it. So years ago, I found that Guillermo del Toro had written a book called The Fall. And then I started noticing all these other books called Fall or The Fall. And I bookmarked 10 books that are all called Fall. And I would love to do a book review video of all 10 books with the same title. It's a huge gimmick and it's just a like silly little project, but I want to do that. Let's see, what else is there? I want to do a video about books that made me, the most important books to me when I was a kid. I want to do a video about the tabletop RPG game that I play called The Burning Wheel. My current gaming group meets once a week. We just passed a year on our current campaign. We meet almost every week. We've had to miss a few for illnesses and holidays and stuff, but we're a pretty consistent group. And this is the 4th campaign that I've played. It's the longest running one, but most of them run between 3 and 6 months. This one is great, and I really kind of want to talk about my experiences playing TTRPGs. Okay, so one of the better performing videos on this channel was 10 lessons that I learned from reading bad books. I had enough for 4 more videos. So that video is about 30 minutes long, and I only got to talk about 10 tips or 10 lessons. I had about 50 total written down. And I want to make more of those. The problem is I don't really want to talk negatively about other authors on this channel. I don't really want this to be a negative channel, and I don't want it to become known for the guy who's talking about bad books. I would just prefer to talk about the books that I like. So I'm really torn on that one. But I do think that there's great lessons to be learned as a writer from continuing to read the books that you don't like. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't ever DNF a book, but sometimes, there can be a lesson to be learned from, what not to do. I think that can be very instructive. I have one more thing that I want to talk about. Years ago, I was in a writer's group. I started a writer's group at a bookstore. It's one of these guys. I'm going to call him Jack. Jack is an old man, and he didn't really consider himself much of a writer, but he is a storyteller. And he's one of those great storytellers in the oral tradition. You sit around a campfire and you could listen to him talk for 6 hours and just never be bored. He's got the best stories, crazy stories. And I don't know how many of them are embellished just because he's a good storyteller and how much of it is actually true, and I don't really care. But he came to the writers group because he was starting to write some of these stories down. He was writing these short stories, and he wanted help from other writers and aspiring writers to help him kind of craft his words on the page, which is a different skill than oral storytelling. Okay, so he graduated from writing those short stories into writing some novels. So he wrote a trilogy of novels about American Indians, and they were crap. The stories were great, but his writing was crap. And he knew that, and everybody kind of knew that. And so he brought those books into the writers group, and he learned a lot, but he just didn't have that written skill. His syntax was bad, his grammar was bad, his formatting was terrible, but it was also the construction of the story just doesn't, it's not the same when you write a novel as when you sit around a campfire and tell a story. So he ended up hiring me on the side, outside of the writers group. He paid me to be his content editor. And so I went through the whole trilogy with him in person. I visited him in his house once or twice a week for several months, and we went through all 3 books, all phases of every book, every single scene, and we reconstructed the whole thing. And then we started over at the beginning, and we revised the whole series on a line-by-line basis, really polished up his prose while still maintaining his sense of style and his vision for the story. And it wasn't my style, but I was so immersed into his book that I was able to kind of pick up on his oral storytelling and then incorporate those details, that voice, into the written page. It was a lot of work, and it was very rewarding work because when we were done, he was really happy with his books. His wife was really happy. Our writers group ended. I kind of lost touch with him for a little while. And then sort of recently, I went and visited him. And Jack is, he's ailing. He's getting older, much, much older. And he is really struggling with memory, just even remembering the details of, what happened the day before, So His mind is kind of slipping, and it's sad to see. And I was really glad that he got all those stories written when he did, because he's just not capable anymore. He can't write anymore. What's not fine is that his daughter has convinced him to run all of his stories, his short stories and his novels, through AI to make them better. And so she did. She took all of his work and ran it through AI. And it completely stripped his particular voice and his style completely out of his stories. And to my eye, they're boring, they're bland, there's no sparkle, there's no spunk, like the humor is gone. All the subtext seems to have left. It's just horribly disappointing and pretty infuriating that his daughter would think that his books benefited from an AI revision. And I don't know what to do. Jack never published these anywhere, but he wanted to. And now the official versions of these stories are lifeless, soulless things, and they're completely stripped of his personality and his voice. And it's not my place to do anything about it. I guess I'm asking you what you think I ought to do, because I have all of his stuff. When I found out that his daughter had done that, I asked him for his permission, and I talked to his wife about it, and I took all of his stuff off of his laptop and I put it on a thumb drive, and I've got it all. I've got the original versions of all of his stories, but they're not mine. I don't know what to do. And so Jack and his wife are kind of concerned with other things right now. It's his health is failing. They've got a lot of other issues going on in the world. It's not really at the forefront of their minds what they're going to do with his writing. But I know him through his writing. That's how I met him. And obviously his health and his life are important to me too. But I feel like I'm the one, if anyone's going to do anything about this, it's got to be me. And I know I'm rambling here, but I don't know what to do. And I guess I'm putting it out there for advice. What do you think I should do with Jack's novels and his short stories? Obviously, I can't publish them myself, but what would you do? Okay, so that's it. I know this has been a really long video, and I've talked about a lot of stuff, but I'm here for another 2 years, and at least for the foreseeable future, I've got more time, and I believe that I will be posting a lot more regularly. So all those videos are going to be coming soon, and hopefully one week after another for now. But until next time, read something good. By the way, I went to the Saturday market across the street from my house this morning, and I bought this grapefruit mint ginger. I think it's ginger that was made yesterday. This is probably the best juice I've ever tasted in my life. I'll put a link if you're local to the Kansas City area. This comes from Lone Jack. I'm gonna put a link in the description for these guys. They're not sponsoring this video. Nobody sponsors Gronsky Books, but this is so good. Get you some.
$30 years?